Given the ecumenical nature of this event, I do need to explain a little bit about Mennonites. For better or for worse, we place a strong emphasis on going to church. You belong to a church, you show up to a church, you volunteer at church, you take ownership of the church, you practice your faith at church. There is a reason Jesus told us to love our enemies. Going to church is a big deal for Mennonites. And for better or worse, over the years, we have developed the idea of church membership. Membership in Mennonite churches is supposed to be important. It means you belong somewhere. You lay claim to a community. You let that community lay claim to you. You give and receive counsel. Membership is sometimes viewed as a sign of faithfulness, commitment, and accountability. Plus, membership is also one of the ways that we decide about who gets to vote on the budget and whether or not we should pave the church parking lot. Additionally, many of our churches have a rule that in order to volunteer in leadership positions, you must be a church member. We need to know that you are here and committed and care about us. So how does one become a member of a Mennonite church? The expectation for most of us is that when you get baptized, you automatically become a member of the church you were baptized in. And if all of a sudden, for some reason, you find yourself in a church different than the one you were baptized in, you are officially supposed to transfer your membership. You'll meet the pastors and deacons, have a little ceremony on a Sunday morning, shake some hands, sign some papers, and eat some food, usually something doughy. The membership transfer is so that your old church knows not to put you in their phone directory, and the new church knows that you are now fair game to serve on the decorating committee. That is how the system is supposed to work, except when it doesn't. See, we at Grace Mennonite Church in Steinbach have a challenge different than most other churches in our denomination. We are growing. New people keep showing up to our church. And for us at Grace, most of the new people coming to our church are coming from other churches. Good old sheep stealing. Sucks when you're on the other end of that one. Great when you're on our end of it. However, all of these new people, many of them are not transferring their membership. And as such, our discernment committee, the ones who find volunteers, they had a problem. They wanted to get new people involved in our church by asking them to serve on a committee, but they were not even allowed to ask because these new people weren't members, even if these new people had been coming for years, and if they were the type of people who actually wanted to sit on a church committee. So our discernment committee approached our pastors and deacons with the question, what do we do about membership and volunteering and leadership? Do people have to be members to serve in a leadership position? So to start, our senior pastor met with the people attending our church who were baptized in other churches but hadn't transferred their membership, and he asked them some questions. Are you content at church? Yep. Are you loving God, loving your neighbor, following Jesus, praying? Yep. Singing in the choir, bringing food to families with new babies, visiting people in the hospital, worship leader, ushering, helping with childcare, bringing food to potlucks. Yep. Giving money. Yep. Want to become a member? Nope. But what if I ask in like a different way? I have a master's degree, different words. What if I reframe it, shed some new light on it? Will you become a new member then? Nope. Okay. See you on Sunday? Yep. Well, that didn't work. So their reasons were varied and valid. Questions of biblical basis for membership, previous spiritual trauma or abuse, maintaining connections with previous churches, honoring their parents' intentions, other denominations not doing membership, seeing the hypocrisy of other church members not participating. One person said, I was kicked out of my previous church. I'm not joining this one, so you can kick me out too. So next, we pastors and deacons looked at the language associated with membership, and we found that we were using words like faith and commitment and community and public declaration and belonging and accountability. And then we realized that these were the exact same words that we used for baptism. And these non-members were already baptized. And then one of our deacons, God bless her soul, pulled out the dusty archive box, and she made one large list consisting of everyone who was still a member in our church books. And then she added everyone whom we'd reasonably expect to see on a Sunday morning other than Christmas Eve or Easter. And her findings left us flabbergasted. 50% of the people on that list were active members. 25% were inactive members. And 25% were active non-members. So our system was broken. It worked well for half of us, but for the other half, it was meaningless. So we knew who the active non-members were since we saw them on Sunday, but the inactive members list was a joke. Teenagers who had been baptized in the 90s and hadn't showed up for decades. There are people who had moved away and had no intention of coming back. My favorite story, though, was that one of our church members was currently serving as the congregational chair of a United church in Vancouver. So why were these folk technically allowed to be asked to lead us, but not the people who actually showed up on Sunday mornings? So we chose to eliminate the membership requirement to serve on church council or committees. The only people in our church who need to be members are pastors, deacons, and the congregational chair, and even then, we're still having a hard time finding people. We still offer membership the traditional way. Some people still transfer their membership, and we do keep track of these lists in the dusty old archive box, but we do not use that list to determine who can serve in our church community. Rather, the prerequisite is simple. If you consider yourself an active part of our church, you can serve. And how do we know who considers themselves an active part of our church? Simple. Mailboxes. Church mailboxes. That little slot in the wall where people receive annual reports, give Christmas cards, and exchange books by Richard Rohr. Yes, I believe... Just so you all know, Richard Rohr told me if he wasn't a Franciscan, he'd be a Mennonite. That is true. And so I actually believe that those little mailboxes are the new form of church membership. And I believe that they address all the questions of faithfulness and commitment and accountability and belonging that membership is supposed to be about. Why? Because everyone we'd expect to see on a Sunday morning has a mailbox. If you live in a different city, go to a different church, practice a different faith, or haven't shown up for years, you don't have a mailbox. And we can see if someone hasn't been in church for months because the Christmas card from the church staff is still there at Easter time. See, after someone attends our church for a few months, we get to know their names and a bit of their story, and we go for coffee with them, and then we ask them, do you want a mailbox? But what we're really doing is asking them if they are committing to our church. A mailbox is a physical space in our building, cementing their place in our community. A mailbox is for important things like charitable tax receipts. It's something to be checked on Sunday mornings. It's a place to go. It's a purpose. And a mailbox is where you can clearly see that you are part of our community. And while each mailbox is small, 200 mailboxes together take over an entire wall in the foyer. Yes, theologically, mailboxes in the new membership is terrible. Ecclesiologically, it is terrible. Legally, it is terrible. But practically, I think it's the best system we have. Visible commitment, yup. A claim on church community, yup. A place that's your own, yup. A reflection of who exactly makes up Grace Mennonite Church, yup. And what seals the deal for me is that it works. Our previous system was working for 50% of us. The mailbox system works for 100% of us. The only problem that we've encountered so far with the church mailbox being a better indicator of church participation than church membership is this. We are running out of church mailboxes. So until we build some new ones, I guess we will not be accepting any new members for a few months. Thank you.